In this video we introduce a new method to capture IT lab documentation. Traditional methods of authoring and editing lab documentation is hard to understand, and we show how our new method is far easier to understand and use. It allows you to better share your work and allows others to replicate things such as complex configurations. This began as a Juniper project, and in typical Juniper openness we made it freely available via GitHub. We'll cover two areas of the new documentation approach. First, introduce a new Word template with special color coding for all your CLI commands. This allows your reader to more quickly understand your document and enable them to work with your instructions better than before. Secondly, we show how to convert this documentation into HTML pages. Our methodology overcomes the obstacles you usually find when using a PDF. We've built a readily available Docker container to generate your documentation. At the core of this innovation is to use 4 colors instead of 1 in conventional documentations. Color black is the default color. Black is used to list output resulting from input commands and log files. If you are unsure of which color to use, then default to black, please. Green indicates the CLI commands you have entered into a shell. Green also indicates that a user can copy this code and paste it directly into their own shell or environment. We recommend using a copy and paste approach as it reduces typos and saves time. Red color then indicates a warning or something you must watch for. We use this to indicate an important point. Purple color is used to indicate a change. It's used by the document author to indicate that this was the way it looked for him in his lab, but when the reader reproduces this procedure, the purple entries must be changed to the specific environment, otherwise it won't work. As you see, this color-coded system provides better instructions that ensure successful replication. Let's see the advantage of our new methodology. In the old approach, this is what you will usually see. I'll call this a desert of text. The comments at the start attempt to instruct me, but fail to provide enough details. In contrast, and we have only used 3 out of 4 colors, the code and documentation is much easier to understand. The green line clearly indicates what has been typed in, so that the reader can repeat this simply by typing in the same command. For longer commands, the reader can simply copy and paste the code directly into their terminal. Here we show some output in black. Special content is displayed in red to clearly indicate important details. Even if you haven't seen this code before, the color coding makes it clear and discernible. This is another example that uses 3 colors. It's slightly more complex, but you can see how powerful this schema is. The example describes a failed certificate check on a router and how we worked around it. First, you see a CLI command that we entered to check the system uptime. We see multiple lines of output. We are only interested in the current time, which we also highlight. Next, we issue a command to review locally stored certificates on the device. We see there's only one certificate active with this name. Highlighted, we also see when it will be activated again. Then we use the name of the certificate to verify it. As you see from the output, this verification failed. We see the error message highlighted stating that this is not valid. So why has this happened? If you compare the first command stating the actual time on the device and compare it to the time of the other command which reported when the action will be activated, you see that we still have to wait before we can use this certificate. Instead of waiting several hours, we now use the next CLI command to change the date on the local clock. You see after entering this command that we are now 1 day ahead of time. On repeating the certificate check, we see that it now passes the test and allowing us to continue. As shown, these color codes give you clear visual instructions on what to do. You can invoke this as an automation by producing a workflow based on this color-coded schema as your programming language. Finally, let's introduce the fourth color, purple. Purple represents a change indicator. Let's see how we use and apply it. This is a complex CLI command used to authenticate against OpenStack Keystone to retrieve a token for further API calls. The command would fail had you copy and pasted it without any changes, since the command needs to be tailored for a specific environment. So we must inform the reader what changes to the command are required to execute it successfully. Now you see how the editor indicates the potential changes to the user by simply coding the section needing changes in purple. In this case, you need to adapt a dynamic password as well as set a different server IP address. This method makes it easy for us as an author to clearly convey sections of code needing changes. So by now you should see the power of this schema. We've made this approach available to you on GitHub as a Word template file to get you started. Here is a Microsoft Word document created using our template from GitHub. It's pre-populated with color codes implemented as a simple set of styles, allowing you to easily apply them. These can also be applied to an existing document. Simply begin typing or copy and pasting your code and commands from other documents or a CLI terminal. The default style is our normal style in black font. Here you can see what the current style is, which is named 1 normal. This is followed by the styles 2 note and 3 warning. We use the numbers in the names to sort them. Please don't change these, as they are used later in the HTML conversion process to map the elements properly. Here we see the styles for typical CLI commands using our color codes. CLI 10 is the first, which is then followed by green, purple and red. CLI 4, 6 and 8 are special ones used for page size reduction in the Word file. Finally, we define a few chapter headers. Let's demonstrate how we edit our document by applying these styles to sections of the document. First we highlight the text to mark and then select CLI 10 style to change. Here we express that something was an input command for copy and paste, so we mark it using the green style. Now we apply the red style to indicate a warning. We do the same to apply purple. Note that the cursor position indicates the current style above. You may also apply a color style to a subsection within a line. In this next example, we reduce the font size. This gives you flexibility to adjust the size of the document. The CLI 4 style has a special use case for HTML conversion. Note the appearance of this header. We apply the remaining two styles to create notes and warning fields. These impact the final HTML as well. Caution: you must use the style selection to set a certain style. Do not change the colors manually. Since the conversion to HTML relies on the style, changes to a color alone will be lost in the conversion. In the next section we demonstrate how to convert the Word file into published HTML pages. Due to technical limitations, especially when it comes to copy and paste, we don't generate any PDF files. We use a multi-stage conversion process to convert the color-coded Word file to render the HTML page. For the curious, chapter 6.1 of the project documentation provides details about this. Let us see how to build the conversion container and then use it. We start with an open system shell containing the GitHub clone of our project. It contains the Docker file used to build our container locally. We open Word with our style templates loaded. Next, we open the Word file containing our project documentation that we'll convert to HTML. The following line tells Docker to build the container for us. You will need internet access to download required files during the process. This build process is fast since we have already all files local from a previous build. The following command starts the conversion. The local file system must be mapped into the container. This statement will be needed to be adjusted depending on your environment and operating system. Once configured, the command line will be the same for all conversions. Since this is the first time we use the conversion process, we need to add the new statement to the CLI line to initialize all local files. Now let's start the process. You need to respond with a yes to the first question, since this generates separate source and build directories. The answers to the remaining questions should be straightforward. After answering the last question, the conversion automatically starts. We have speed up the video. A large 1000-page Word document conversion can take 10 to 15 minutes. The resulting zip file contains both versions bundled together by default. Here is the internal structure of the zip archive and where the index.html file to start reviewing our conversion results is located. As we have demonstrated, the entire conversion process is easy and user-friendly. Finally, let's compare the two versions. Note that each has its own advantages. Let's compare both versions in more detail. The HTML version always provides us a fixed navigation pane for the chapters on the left side. This isn't available for the Word version by default, so you have to know where to activate it. In the HTML version, the index page with the table of contents for all chapters is auto-generated. You can also add more content to this page by editing the auto-generated restructured source-index-rest file and rerun the conversion. Clicking on Chapter 1 takes you to the converted page. In Chapter 2 we see an overview of all features. Let's compare for each of the CLI color styles. You see that the colors are preserved in the HTML version. Next, let's review the effects on font size reductions from the default CLI 10 to use CLI 8 until the smallest, which is the CLI 4 style. CLI 8 and 6 are only different in the Word but not in the HTML. As shown, the default CLI 10 lines are wrapped, making the content harder to read. Applying CLI 8 fits the contents nicely. If you still see lines wrapping, then try CLI 6 next. With HTML, these font size reductions are not needed, as we make use of horizontal sliders instead. Keep in mind that in HTML this isn't bounded to the dimensions of paper. In the normal screen view, sliders disappear as we take advantage of the full-size screen. CLI 4 as smallest reduction is special. We use it to embed all information that is optional to the reader, and he is usually not required to review it. We typically use it for large sections of log files and configuration examples. This type of information isn't lost using this CLI style and is easy to copy and paste. In the HTML version, we are able to hide all information by default. A button allows the reader to expand the additional content then. This allows you to quickly navigate through the content with less scrolling. Next, we review the two styles for notes and warnings, which are blue and red boxes. They may appear unassuming in the Word file, but as you can see, they render looking great in HTML. Finally, let's see what happens with embedded files in Word. Word allows you to embed several types of OLE2 objects into the document. We use this feature to easily attach other files. These files may be exportable when the document is opened in Word for Windows, but unfortunately it might not be always work for the macOS version of Word. With HTML we don't have this problem. The object will be displayed as a URL to click for download. As we have demonstrated, the converted HTML version has some unique advantages over the Word-based documentation. We hope that you found this innovation useful and hope that you successfully apply it now to your own documentation.